Today, a conversation with Asim Zaidi. Asim is basically the promoter of karate combat, and if you haven't been paying attention, he's kind of been going to war in the media with One Championship. Now, partly that is related to the fact that they're staging a show, Karate Combat is, in Singapore, in One's backyard, and this is something to generate some buzz for it and obviously some broader interest more generally. But the reason why I want to speak to him is because some of the things he's been doing and talking about the way that One Championship treats their fighters matches directly the experiences I have had in also talking to One Championship fighters who have told me about some of the poor treatment they've received, but are very, very afraid to speak out on the record. So, in this conversation, we talk about some of his promotional interests, and we're very, very clear about that. Some of the things he's hearing, what One Championship has done to raise his ire in particular, and of course, the road ahead and where this all leads to. Without further ado, here's Asim Zaidi. Asim Zaidi, thank you for joining me.
It's an absolute pleasure.
All right. So there's a few different things to get to here, but I want to start with a basic question, which is why now and why have you decided to seemingly go after One Championship for from what I can tell, is their business practice more generally, but perhaps their treatment of fighters more specifically? Give me the genesis of why we're talking today.
So I think that's very important because what happens is all these videos are going viral online, but unfortunately, the context of what's happening, that's just one post, and some people are missing that, right? So they're seeing all of this maybe drama, fighter statement, all this stuff, and people are wondering why this is happening. So I've already discussed it once, and I would love to describe it again because I think people are not understanding the context. So originally, it all started in Dubai. I threw an event in April of Dubai. And what happened was we had a co-main event. It was karate versus Muay Thai. And the captain of Muay Thai was a guy named Y2K Fairtex. Now, Y2K Fairtex used to fight for One Championship, but he was a free agent and he was competing for us in karate combat. More than happy to do so, What stinks is about 7 days before the fight, we get news. Fairtex Jim calls us and says that they got called personally from Chatri. And he said, if you allow Y2K to fight for them, I'm removing opportunities from your other fighters. So essentially, I feel like he blacklisted us across the gym. And I pleaded with Fairtex Jim. I'm like, guys, please, this is a co-main event. I pitched this to all of our sponsors, everyone involved. This is going to really hurt me if this happens. And they apologized. I actually paid the fighter in advance because the fighter needed help. He hadn't fought for so long. He needed help with training camp. I paid him for advance. They sent the money back, and he didn't fight for us. And what's even sadder is that not only he hadn't fought for a very long time, but he still hasn't fought. And that was back in April. So it's like, Y2K Fairtex is such a big name, such a big talent. He's still inactive. If what Fairtex Jim is, what they're saying is true, at least give the guy a fight. So here's the thing. Now we're getting to why I started this whole thing. I didn't have it in my heart to be vindictive and go after this guy, go after One Championship. I really didn't want to. I was minding my own business. Karate Combat is exploding. We're getting to the mainstream audience, and I was happy with that. So minding my business, I'm like, you know what? It's not cool what he did. It's not fair, but it is what it is. Let me move on. What ended up happening is over the last few months, I have an absurd amount of One Championship fighters asking me for help. But I'm not talking about an average One Championship fighters. I'm saying they're current champions, current champions, current superstars saying, dude, I need to go to Karate Combat. I need a new home. I'm not happy here for a variety of reasons that I'm sure you know, right? Whether it's inactivity, there's some people claiming that they're not getting paid what they were promised. There's a bunch of drama going on. Now, with all these fighters complaining, that's when it took a turn for me. And I started researching because I didn't know too much about one. I started really researching, going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, they tried to screw with me in Dubai. Their investors are pissed off. Fighters are pissed off. Their champions are messaging me. You know what? Okay, let's go to Singapore. Let's go to their hometown. And I'm coming for Chatri's head. And I'm there and I want to provide opportunities for former One Championship fighters. And we're going to go to Singapore. And that's what we're doing. And what's insane is the Singapore people, the Thai people are so happy. My DMs are flooded with positive comments. So that's sort of the backstory in a nutshell.
Okay, so this is Karate Combat 49, which will be September 18th in Singapore. That's the event you're referencing, correct?
Yes, that's what we're doing right now. September 18th, KC 49. We're going to have many former one championship fighters on the card. And that's sort of the start of it. We have signed many people. As soon as they get out the contract, they come to us. So we're
Okay.
signing all these one championship fighters who have their contracts expired. They come to us, and you're going to be seeing them active. So we're sort of absorbing, the one championship roster as well as our roster. We have this really hybrid roster at Karate Combat right now.
Just to be clear, the essential complaint of Chatri was that he didn't want you to use a guy who was still under contract from one, but
No, free
so that
agent.
so it was a free agent. So he was trying to get you to not use someone who he had, to the best of your knowledge, no contractual relationship with, but had formerly had a relationship with as a promoter.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. So Fairtex Gym and their manager, I really forgot the manager's name, and I forgot the owner of Fairtex Gym, the gentleman's name. But the owner of Fairtex and the manager deeply apologized. They said, "Look, we have no contract with one. He is a free agent. We didn't expect this." And they actually advised me. They said, "We advise you, if you want this fight to happen, to go to the media and start talking about this, and then they'll allow Y2K Fairtex to fight." And it was only 7 days before my event in Dubai. I didn't want to stir up any problems. It was my first time in that region, so I just let it go. And it really hurt us. We lost our co-main event. That's not a fun thing to happen the week of your fight, the week of your event.
Have you at all spoken to anyone aside from the fighters who've reached out? I mean, any leadership over at One about this?
So that's actually a great question. This whole drama that happened with me, like I said, I let it go. I put it to the side. All this fighter stuff that's happening, it really, it got inside me because I'm a coach also. I do a lot for fighters. I house fighters. I feed them 3 meals a day, 5 days a week. I have 15 fighters living inside my gym. I pay for visas, training camps, and I've been doing this for many, many years because I love fighters. I understand them. I know what they have to go through. So it's been pissing me off what's been happening. Now, when I started this war on one, I put a post out hinting that this was going to start. And as soon as I did that, within 2 days, Boss Rudin called me up. And he's like, "Look, I got a call from Matt Hume. Chatri and Matt Hume want to have a meeting. Essentially, they want to extend the olive branch and they want to help us with our event in Singapore." But at that time, it actually got me annoyed because it's like, look, if back in Dubai, when he pulled my co-main event, if he would have just called me and said, "Look, Asim, it's going to hurt me for you to use a Fairtex fighter. Please do not use a Fairtex fighter. It's going to hurt my business. I'll help you find a replacement." I would have pulled it out. I would have pulled the fighter out. I would have paid him still, but I would have pulled him out. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's just we can work together in that way. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm new to this as a promoter, and maybe I shouldn't do that. But I would have made friends with him. We would have been good. But now, when you're being hurt, when you know the fighters are messaging me, when you know your champions are messaging me, now you want to extend the olive branch. I told Boss Rudin, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and I hung up.
Okay. One thing I just can't quite wrap my head around: how does this guy competing for Karate Combat hurt one's business? That's the part I'm just still trying to like mentally process. Like,
I love it.
what? Okay, but what even would be the argument if you had to make the
Gotcha.
argument? What would it even be?
So we speculated with Fairtex Gym and the other fighters. The one championship fighters actually fed me a lot of information. So after discussing with Fairtex and all their fighters, what they're claiming and what they're telling me, which I think is a great theory, right now, all the Muay Thai fighters, the only home they have is one championship. So they pay them very little. They can pay them pennies on the dollars compared to anybody else because that's the only place they can go to. If all of a sudden I come in and I give opportunity to Thai fighters, to Fairtex Gym, all this stuff, it's going to create competition and it's going to raise everyone's fight purse. This is the theory that's coming from one championship fighters and the Thais in the area. I have a lot of local Thai gyms that are explaining that one championship does not want competition there because then they have to pay these guys what they deserve. They want to be the only ones, right? So now I'm coming in. That's why they're pissed off. That's why they don't want that to happen.
So part of the reason I want to have this conversation is because over the last couple of years, I have been contacted by a number of one fighters or friends of one fighters who are desperate to get their friends or again, depending on who was contacting me, some media attention. But in the end, they almost never, in fact, in my case, they've never gone through with it. Is this your experience as well?
So what's happening and why I'm the only one talking? Okay, look, this is all kind of turned a little bad for me. Some of the fans are going against me now. So in the beginning, there was a lot of love. Now you start looking at the comments. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, this guy just wants to be famous. This and this and this." What the casual fan doesn't understand is these fighters are being silenced. Why did Gary Tonin post a comment asking for an interview with Joe Rogan and then delete it 30 minutes after? Why did Sage? Where has he been? He was talking so much. All of a sudden, he's not saying anything. Why are these fighters posting and deleting their? It's because something's happening behind the scenes. That's the only thing I could think of, and that's what the one championship fighters are telling me, because they have what is that? A disparagement clause, right, in their contracts. So the fighters are telling me they can't speak out. So what they do instead is they're feeding me the information, and they're literally asking me, "Please, you go out there and bring this to light so you can help us out." And already, by the way, some people have been released. I don't want to say names yet. There's a couple fighters that have been released. We're signing them to Karate Combat because they were threatening to want to release more information. So it's happening, man. By the way, I don't know if you know this. One championship is taking Gary Tonin to litigation. That's crazy.
Is
Yeah,
that
like
right?
what's going on with that, man? You know what I mean? So, and then he posted what he posted, and then he took it down. So I don't want to go too much into stuff. That's my ex-teammate, but you can only assume he posted that and took it down. I'm sure they immediately extended the olive branch and trying to settle things with him now. You know what I mean? Because he's ready to talk. So I tried to find a solution. I'll tell you this: tomorrow I will be on a live with Cosmo Alexander. Cosmo Alexander's contract is expired. He's going to come out and speak about his experience with one and why he will never fight again if he ever has to fight for one. Why he retired. I
This
also
is the
have
this is the guy that broke Sage Northcutt's face, correct?
yeah. More violent way to put it. Yes. Who was it? Man, I'm forgetting. John Wayne Parr. John Wayne Parr
Sean
is
Wayne Parr, the Australian legend.
yes. He's in the DMs too. So these people, since they don't have contracts currently, they can come out with statements. But many of the current fighters, they just can't. I've came up with a solution. Well, I shouldn't take credit. My marketing team came up with a solution. Have you ever seen 60 Minutes, the show?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
You remember that dark figure that has the anonymous voice?
Oh, the one that you can't see them, but you can kind of hear a muffled version of their voice. Yeah.
Exactly. I have at least two current one championship champions. I have two former champions and a bunch of superstars, current superstars, that are providing me an audio. I'll go ahead, distort it, black figure, put it out, and people can think I'm lying or they can think I'm telling the truth. But their statements will be out for the public, and they'll be safe. They'll be anonymous.
Just quickly, does Karate Combat have any like anti-disparagement clauses in their contracts?
I think I'm really not sure. I would have to look through it. I believe there has to be something said to some degree. But I'll give you an example. I mean, there was a fighter that put F Karate Combat, whatever, and I didn't say anything, man. I mean, I'm not going to do that. That's not. I don't have a heart to do that. So
What
whatever
do you,
there would probably be something standard.
what are you hearing about the health of one's business?
Okay, so I didn't know any of this prior to this war on one. I started researching. When I started diving deep, I started seeing articles where Qatar's coming out and making a statement that they're publicly embarrassed to have invested in one, which is an insane thing to say. I saw Mike Hogan on, I think it was on Hero Juani. He's talking about these guys have, screwed over all these different people. There's no one left to screw over. They're going to run out of money. But I also feel like they've been saying they're going to run out of money for years. I feel like everyone's been saying that, right? And then when I look deeper into it, there's one article that states, I believe it was $400 million they've lost in 4 years, and $111 million in 2022. But this is a lot of money. This is a crazy amount of money they're losing. One article is claiming that they will lose money by Q3 of this year. But again, people have been saying that they're going to run out of money for a long time, and they keep finding a way to raise money. So whether this is the last year one will be around or not, I have no idea. They're obviously experts at raising money. Maybe they'll continue to do so, but it doesn't seem good, right? When you dive deep into it, when you look at their financials, and we all know that. Nothing that I'm saying is new. I'm just bringing to light all these articles that have sort of been buried under the dust.
I have to go back to the anti-disparagement thing. Like, you would you go to litigation with a fighter if one of your own fighters, if you had to?
I just don't have it in my heart, man. I just can't
Okay.
imagine doing something like that, man. You
All
know,
right.
like who was it the other day? So there's a wonderful fighter. His name's Alejandro Flores. Really great fighter, UFC vet. You know, he fought for us back in March in Mexico, and he had a good performance. And you know, now we are in September, and you know, I haven't offered him a fight, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey, Asim, I noticed you haven't offered me a fight. Are you planning to offer me a fight, or is it possible to release me because I may be able to go back to the UFC?" I honestly, for different reasons, he's a great grappler, maybe not that great of a striker for karate combat. So I said, you know what, man, I got you. Released his contract. He's off to the UFC, no problem, you know, and he's
Interesting.
making his run there. So, but again, this is me as a coach still, right? I'm still a part-time coach. I coach many UFC fighters. I coach with my heart, and that's how I'm promoting right now, from my heart, with the love of it for the fighters. Hopefully, I never get tainted like some of these older promoters. But as of right now, I'm doing all of this with a clean heart, and I've always done this. If you research me as a coach, you're going to see, you know, how I treat my athletes.
In terms of doing business in Singapore, I've never been. So could you tell me, like, what kind of footprint does one have there? And I guess, what do you think Karate Combat is up against in trying to do an event in Singapore?
Well, we were very worried. You know, we going there, risking a lot doing this in Singapore. We were wondering if they may get in the way and sort of block us in different directions. But when we researched, Singapore is an amazing country, and you're not paying people off, or you're not doing shady stuff like that in Singapore. They're very strict with their laws. So in learning about that country more and more, it gave me the confidence. I don't think anything's going to happen to us. I think we'll be okay. And to be honest, there's a reason why they're not retaliating right now, right? One championship, obviously, we all know they're trying to raise more money. Specifically, the word is they're trying to raise more money in Qatar. There's no way they would retaliate without this blowing up and bringing more attention to it. You know what I mean? Especially when they're right now trying to raise money. So I was hoping that there would be some retaliation. We would have a little back and forth. But it would be dumb at this moment for them to do anything like that. Instead, you know, you see them slowly releasing fighters or talking to them on the side and staying quiet.
Is this a market you would consider going back to? Like, I guess I would say, like, for 2025, beyond just kind of having a rivalry with one or competing for the similar set of fighters, is this a destination for Karate Combat?
So I really want you to trust me in this. You know, Michael Bisping and I are very close. He knows this about me. Anybody that commentates in the UFC knows how much I care about my athletes. Like I said, when an athlete's not being treated well, not being treated fairly, right away, you know, it really hits me hard. Like, I want to do something for those athletes. The amount of messages I'm getting from Thai gyms across Thailand, gyms across Singapore, asking me, please keep doing this. Please throw more events. Please come to Thailand. I just can't ignore that. You know what I mean? We actually have an exec call about this next week after our event to discuss when we can, you know, do another event in Singapore or go to Thailand, you know, for an event. And it needs to happen. You know, I know we have a couple events lined up in China as well, but we need to start giving these Asian fighters opportunities, and specifically these fighters in Thailand that feel they have nowhere to go, right? They feel kind of trapped under the one umbrella. We need to go ahead and provide another home for these athletes.
What's the end game here? I mean, obviously, it's to promote the Karate Combat brand and to bring to light what I think you believe are, perhaps rightly, some serious injustices. Is it just that? Is there something else beyond the scope of that with this
Oh,
push?
okay. So let's talk about this. And this is what's amazing about doing something right. When you're doing something good, you should do it with a pure heart. You should do it just because it's the right thing to do, you know, and that should be the mentality. But of course, at the end of the day, it is going to benefit Karate Combat, right? Definitely. We're going to get higher level strikers. Right now, we've signed so many former one championship fighters. I'm a huge fan of the one championship roster. When I say, karate combat war on one, I'm not saying the fighters. I love one championship fighters. I'm a big fan. And the fact that they're looking to change and sign with us is a huge compliment. So I'm very happy that this is benefiting karate combat as well. And I want us to keep absorbing these high level strikers. And then eventually our roster will be the most elite in the world. And we will be considered the greatest striking league on the planet. So that's sort of the benefit to us, right? We're driving this for the fighters. But at the end of the day, by doing the right thing, what's awesome is it's going to help us too. We're going to have these amazing Thai fighters in our organization, all these Asian fighters. The level is just going to increase, and that's a benefit too. I can't say it's not.
Do you think that more of this will? Okay, so you're speaking with Cosmo Alexandri and some other ones. Like, give me a sense. So it's now it's September 11th. Like for the rest of the year, so October, November. Let's say the next 2 months. What does this look like? What does this battle look like? How many more people come forward? Does one eventually respond? Can you force their hand? Predict the future here a little.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I feel like at some point one has to say something. It just has to happen, right? Now, if I were in their shoes as a promoter, I'd wait till I raised our money in Qatar. Once we secure that deal, then okay, we're coming back because I have that financial backing. Now I can get my fighters active, and a lot of fighters are quick to forget. Some fighters are inactive for many years, 2 years. All of a sudden, I get the money and I can keep them active. They're quick to forget how mad they were over the last 2 years. So I think that's what they're hoping for. They go ahead and raise that money. They start these fighters getting active, and then now they can retaliate on me and kind of shut me up, right? So I think that's what they're hoping for, right? But the next couple months, I'll tell you this: we're going to have fighters like Cosmo Alexander competing for us. So these legends in Muay Thai, you will see that. He's an animal. He offered to fight in Singapore in 7 days. He's like, look, I want to fight in their hometown too. I want to help with this war in one. Get me a fight in 7 days. And I'm like, Cosmo, man. Like, I don't know if I could find somebody that would want to fight you in 7 days, So we're going to get him on a card, and he's an absolute legend, and he's going to speak out tomorrow. And I think you're just going to continue seeing that over the next months. You're going to just see more former one championship fighters fighting for us.
If I may, with the time we have remaining, I do have to pick your brain about this. We just saw recently, I guess a couple of weeks ago, almost a month at this point, the Craig Jones Invitational, which they used the alley, but Craig was very, very explicit that he basically just got the idea from competing on a karate combat card from you guys. So two-part question. One, to what extent does grappling feature in karate combat's future? And then two, what do you make of the success of CJI? Obviously, there's a lot of things that made that such a big deal, and then Craig's vision in general beyond that is a huge component. But I do wonder how you look at that and think, whoa, that actually took off pretty big.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So I'll explain. And this is actually not known by too many people. So Craig competed for us a couple times. The pit is definitely the perfect platform for grappling. There's not a better platform for grappling than that pit. To be honest, I think it's the best platform for any combat sport. If you did MMA in the pit, it would probably blow up. It's really, really great. But for jiu-jitsu, people are in love with it. So we decided we own the IP for the pit, and we want to license it to different people. So we're like, okay, we'll start licensing it to different jiu-jitsu competitions. Craig definitely jumped on that. He wanted to use the pit, and he didn't really know how to throw an event. He's a phenomenal promoter, but he didn't know really what to do. So he made certain relationships in karate combat, and guys that are in our production team, they handled, the production for him. Our security team handled security. He didn't know how to build a pit. We hired these pit builders. He was able to hire them. He even hired our former social media manager. So basically, it was a karate combat event with Craig Jones, right? Featuring, for Craig Jones, I should say, right? And it was super successful, and everyone was so proud of it. And it just showed okay, that's a proven product now. If we want to move into jiu-jitsu space, I truly believe we could easily take it over, easily, because that's all of the things we do, right? And that's what's going to happen. So what we're trying to do right now is separate our jiu-jitsu, our grappling series from the karate combat. So instead of having grappling matches the same day as karate combat. What we're going to try to do is have a pre-weigh-in show. So the day before, when we do our weigh-ins, we're thinking about throwing a large grappling event, and that way those people can stick around, watch the weigh-ins of karate combat, and hopefully come back and support the karate combat fights as well. So that's sort of the idea. You know, we're in talks with different people. We're in talks with UFC Fight Pass about doing something with them, maybe exclusively. But we love the idea of helping people and licensing this pit out to, you know, as many organizations as possible.
If folks want more information about you, and in particular, how to get more information, if they have questions about Karate Combat versus One, the whole universe there that you have now raised, so to speak, where can they go? What should they do?
Okay, so this is really important because some people are a tad upset at me. Okay, my phone has gotten flooded, my WhatsApp has gotten flooded, my DMs, my Telegram, everything's getting flooded with people that want to help with this one-on-one. And I'm trying my best to juggle it and get back to everyone. I would say the best thing to do right now, actually DM me on Instagram at president.awesome, because right now I'm really active with checking my DMs. I'm usually not doing that, but right now, you know, just so much information is flooding in, so I'm very active with checking that. Go ahead and DM me. I will probably see it at some point. But yeah, definitely, there's just so much support coming in, and I'm trying my best to get to everyone.
Karate Combat 49. This will take place at the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. And you can watch that on YouTube. Is that right?
Yes. So we're free on YouTube. We're free on Twitter, X. We're free on Facebook. So, and we're on UFC Fight Pass. So basically, as many platforms as possible, we're just free everywhere.
There you have it. Asim Zaidi, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.